What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Beat the Maze. It's your boy Ian B.
And it's your girl Jasia.
And we have a special guest in the building today. We have Miss Alexia Gosier.
Hi.
How you doing, Alexia?
I am doing great. How are y'all doing today?
Really good,
I'm
really
doing
good.
well.
So one thing we like to do before we begin every show is we like to go around and share how our week was. And yeah, just kind of like break the ice a little bit. So Ian, how's your week been?
I've been doing pretty good. Yeah, not too much to really add this week, not too much to highlight, but how are you doing?
I've been good. This week's been jam-packed, busy. I'm hoping that this week's coming up slows down a little bit, but nonetheless, I've been good. And Alexia, how are you?
I really can't complain. This past week, it was pretty chill. I was doing a lot of planning, just kind of sitting back, reflecting, and preparing for the next few months. So it's been good. I'm looking forward to this upcoming week. More planning, more anticipation as we go into July. So I'm excited.
Okay. Are you doing your whole like quarter three planning that we're about to go into, or?
So I guess that's really what it is. Just really analyzing, thinking about, reflecting on what has happened this past 6 months and how I can fix that to move forward and really prepare for the end of the year. So I'm gonna do that between Monday. By Friday, my goal sheet should be complete. So
Okay, love it.
So Alexia, tell us more about you and introduce yourself to our audience so they can know kind of a bit about who you are and what do you do.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Alexia. I am based in Atlanta. I am a teacher, and I also have the focal point here is my body sculpting business. I own and operate a body sculpting business in the metro Atlanta area, and I have been in business for almost 2 years.
Wow. Okay.
Congratulations to that.
Congratulations. Absolutely.
For those who don't know what body sculpting is, it's basically non-invasive services that my focus is helping promote a healthy lifestyle. So I offer laser lipo cavitation, in which it reduces and shrinks fat cells. And then we have some vacuum therapy, which enhances what you already have. And then sauna, just some other things. And you guys were probably gonna ask me this. So sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but the gist of it is just promoting wellness overall.
Okay. So how did you get into body sculpting and get into this realm? Because I know you said you're a teacher. And so how did you you teach by day? Essentially, I know you love teaching, and then to do this business on as your other full-time other business.
So I kind of got into it just being during COVID, during the pandemic, like we were all at home. We had to sit with ourselves during after I was done teaching virtually. I was just kind of thinking, wow, like I want to do something else. I want to generate more income. And I thought about how Atlanta, is pretty much a beauty mecca. Like everybody loves beauty here. The girls here are going to pay to look good. So I was just thinking like, how can I tap into that industry? And when I was getting my lashes done, beauty, we pay for what we want. That kind of sparked a conversation around body sculpting. And I didn't know what it was. So I did my own research, and then I was like, oh, this is something that I could do. I think, girls would really love this. This will be a great industry to get into. So I studied a little and then went and got trained and kind of jumped right in.
How was the how was the process of like learning about everything? Because body sculpting, like until I had kind of met you, body sculpting was a fairly new concept to me.
Right. So I will say experience is definitely the best teacher. So being trained and getting that hands-on experience was great, but it wasn't until I started getting clients until I really, was like, okay, yeah, I can't do that anymore. I can't do this. So like hands-on, it taught me a lot because, there are risk factors associated. Like you don't want to bruise anyone. You don't want to it was scary because I'm like, oh wait, this is serious. I can't take as a joke. So the training portion, the first few months was really, I started by like practicing on my friends and stuff. So that's what really helped me. But it was pretty cool. Like after about 6 months, I'd say like I was prepared and I was generating clients. So I was like, oh, this must be good. So I say I learned pretty fast, and it was smooth.
So how did you get into building a clientele? Was it strictly through like social media marketing, or were you out networking, going to, I know they have like the Bronner Brothers shows and all these different like beauty shows and conferences. Like, how did you start building that clientele?
So it's interesting that you asked that question, because I really can say that like my business has sustained itself from social media, Instagram in particular alone. Like I didn't even like have a pre-launch. It was me posting on my regular page, like, hey, I'm doing this business. And then I was, like I said, I used some of my friends for promo. But beyond that, like it was strictly Instagram posting, showing results. People like to see. I was posting a lot of before and afters, and I think that that's what drew the crowd. And after like a year, I was having people that, that were influencers like coming to me like, hey, we want to get your services. And then in exchange for services, like I'd allowed them to do promo. And there was one person in particular that like made my page go from like 600 followers to like 2,000 in like 5 days. And I was just like, yeah, Instagram is really powerful. And it made like people are changing their lives using this free platform, because if one person shares it, people buy into the people that they like. So Instagram alone has sustained the business. I definitely recommend people who are in business, like take social media serious. And even if that means investing into someone who can post for you, who understands the marketing, they understand the business portion of it and how you can translate followers to dollars. It's really worth it, because I have not like walked around and passed out cards. And sometimes I even ask myself like, well, maybe I should network. I should tell people I have a business. I should do this. And sometimes I'm scared, to be honest. Like I kind of like separate business with personal. So when I'm like talking to people, I don't like mention, hey, you should come support my business. I really don't do that. I'm just kind of like, well, they'll find out. But
Right.
it's really been Instagram alone.
So you feel like you're still getting that same traction? I know Instagram's doing all these crazy new updates, and like a lot of people, I myself included, we're not getting the same viewing, are following, like it's not showing up through like views or likes. Do you feel like you're experiencing that, or have you found a way?
It's a difference, right? During the pandemic, you could get more, like, I feel like people were on it more and the rules were not the same. Now the algorithm is crazy. So like, if you don't post reels, then it's like every month something changes. So you have to keep up with the trends. So I definitely say it's not like it was, but the people did follow back then. So they're able to see what I'm doing, and they might not see every post, but if I could stay consistent, like right now I have a social media, like my cousin is basically my social media manager. Like he's getting into that, so he does it all for me. So we're kind of figuring it out together. But I still get clients through just Instagram. So it's still
that was going to be my next question of how did you get into and finally say like, okay, I can't do this on my own. I need someone to help who has like knowledge or experience in this area. Like, how did you move into that role?
So when I first started, it was just me, and I realized that it was so, I feel like I had so many roles, but I was doing it, but I was getting tired, or I'd slack off sometimes. And to be completely honest, I did not get to the point where I'm like, okay, I got to get some help. It was more so my cousin saying like, I'm going to step in and help you. You don't post as much. I think that I could really help you, and I want to develop my skill too. So this will help. So that's kind of what it is, just having that support. But I do think it's important to recognize when you can't do it all, because we don't do it all. We can't. Like teamwork definitely does make the dream work. So I think that after, a few months, then if you can afford to, the support is necessary, because if you try to do it all, you'll get burnt out. And eventually that might even turn into you just like ending the business and saying like, you know what, this is too much, I'm done.
Yeah. I will definitely be one to say that. I had a hair business at one time and I completely burned out of it. And I turned something that I really love to do into like, I hated doing hair. I dreaded the idea of even anyone asking me about doing hair. So I completely understand that.
Right. So I think delegating is definitely helpful. You're in CEO society, so like they talk a lot about that. And wealthy women, not only women, but people in general, like they've learned how to delegate. So even though I did not ask, he volunteer, I am naturally a great delegator. I just don't like throwing stuff on people. So I think that has helped me as well.
That was definitely going to be a question. That was a question that came into mind when you mentioned your cousin. How was it kind of giving up that role to somebody else? Because I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel like I have to do everything myself, me, like this is my baby. And yes, it is, your business is your baby, but at a certain point, just like any parent, you have to let your child kind of grow and do its own thing.
Right. It wasn't hard for me just because I trust him. He is very organized. And I think as a good leader, especially a good leader, a good business owner, anything, like you have to notice your weaknesses. Like I'm not the most organized person. I will admit that to anyone. But I'm most organized. Even creating this business, like I did not write a business plan. My faith was the business plan, but I recognized long term, okay, you got to get more organized. But we balance each other, and that's why we're like best friends, because organization is his strength. So I can literally say, like, I think we should do this today, and I have no question because he's going to do it, and he's gonna do it by a certain time, and then he's gonna message me, ask me like, hey, you like this? And I'm like, that's great. Like, but I can trust him because his strength is organization. So it's almost like when you give a job, you have to know, okay, I can trust you with this because you're good at it and you've seen them do it. So it wasn't hard at all to allow him to do that because that's his strength.
That's beautiful. Are you planning on expanding the LexLuxe Body Sculpting business, or?
So I'm actually about to pivot. I am more passionate about education. I know, like, I have the gift of teaching. So within next month, that's why I'm really planning. I am going to turn my business into it's an academy, rather, perform services hands-on, because when I was creating this business, the thing we have to think about when we want to get these side hustles, we all of us want more money, but passive streams of income matter most, because if you cannot show up to 5 jobs, like you only have 24 hours in a day. So if I know that I'm going to teach for 8 hours and always work in education, then I cannot also, I won't say I shouldn't have created a service-based business because it's been beautiful. It's taught me a lot, but I can't teach and run a business. That means I'm going to have 2 full-time jobs and expect to do both of them every day. That's going to lead to burnout. So for me, that's why I'm pivoting. Although I have an employee now, but it's just not, my business isn't in a space where, especially with us being in a recession, where I could just say, hey, like, I'm going to hire you full time. I want you to do this, and I can guarantee you X amount of dollars. I'd rather teach the business, and then later it might end up turning into a franchise. I don't know. But right now I want to focus on teaching, allowing other people to create the business, because there are a lot of people that are willing to commit to it full time. But teaching essentially is my passion.
I like that. Walk by faith, not by sight. When it comes to your teacher, and we can like, how do you feel it? Yeah, you can feel that you're a teacher, truly, the way you explain and express your thoughts, and even like the way that you communicate. How do you feel like being a teacher has played into you as a businesswoman?
Wow, I did not think about that. I definitely think because I teach, it makes me a great communicator. So I think I provide quality customer service. Like, I found in a lot of instances where women were not just coming to me for the services, they were coming to me for me. Like, they were coming to me to have conversations. They were coming to me to feel seen. Sometimes I leave my appointments and I'm like, wow, like, I really know her. Like, I feel the need to pray for her. I feel like we've developed relationships. So I think that because sometimes when we're doing the body sculpting, I'm not even explaining their service to them. We're talking about life. Like, I'm coaching them through life. Like, I find myself being like a life coach. So I think that it has helped me, because even when I'm doing the services, so I'm still teaching. And sometimes teaching looks like teaching 35, 45, 50-year-old women, because there are certain things that I have that, or know that they may not know, and vice versa. So I think that that's what plays a role. I'm teaching while, no matter where I am and what I'm doing, like, I always find myself like teaching other people something.
And that's definitely a safe space too, because they're coming for something that is very personal and private in that service for you.
That's an intimate space for sure.
Yeah. So to be able to like, it's like going to get your nails done or your hair done or getting a wax. It's like, that's a very like,
you have to be like,
yeah. So you definitely, you feel more comfortable when you can connect with that person and you're not just another client in their seat, but you both have a story and you're both connecting on that level. So how did you even get into teaching? Like, growing up, did you know, like, I want to be a teacher? Like, that's what I want to do.
The interesting, like, so growing up, I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. And then I thought that I was going to work in healthcare administration. But I always knew that I would like have a leadership role, just because when I was younger, like my family always called me bossy. And so I've been reflecting, like, I'm bossy by nature. Like, I did not ask to be this way. It's not like I was just like, make me bossy, please. Like, I want to tell everybody what to do. And not even in a, like, I want to be a boss. I'd say, like, I'm more so of a leader. But those are traits. And I think that, we really are born with certain traits. So I ran from it, but I also knew that I'd served in a leadership role. So when I went to college, I initially wanted to go into healthcare administration. Then I went into speech language pathology. Then I was like, oh no. Then I went into public health. And then I would be in church and the pastor would always like preach. And sometimes I feel convicted. Like it was a church where a lot of college students went. So she'd say things like, and some of you know that you're supposed to be following your passion. Like, don't follow pay. Like, God will make room for you, all of this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't think I'm supposed to be in healthcare. Like, I think I'm supposed to be a teacher. Because when I was little, when I go home, like, I went to, when on the weekends, I would spend time with my aunt and I bought a whiteboard and dry erase markers so I can mimic what my, so even though I didn't know back then, like, I'm going to teach, I still was teaching. Like, so I mimicked the behaviors. And in high school, my first job was actually like a high school aide. So I taught students, elementary students, and that was God showing me like, hey, like, this is your field. I was still running from, because I was like, these kids bad. I'm not doing this. Like, and then, you hear people say like, teachers don't make enough money. But my sophomore year of college, like, something hit me. Like, I literally was like, okay, I'm supposed to teach. And then I started praying about it. And God really revealed to me, like, I called you to teach. And I changed my major, even changed colleges, moved to another city to follow my purpose, because if I would have stayed at the school that I was at, I would have graduated a semester late. I wasn't willing to do that. It's like, okay, God, I'm gonna give up the healthcare, but I ain't gonna graduate late too. We can't do both. So I transferred to Valdosta State, and I majored in education to be able to graduate on time. So I went to summer school to make sure that I keep my graduation date. And I went into education, and I would not trade it for anything in the world, because it is my passion. It is what I feel good doing. When I wake up in the morning, I don't like regret waking up at 5:30 or 5:45, because I know I'm doing something much bigger than me, and it feels bigger. I know, and even I'm going to go beyond the classroom eventually, but the experience that I get like in the classroom, you really get to shape and frame little minds, and people buy into it, because like my little kid, like 7-year-olds, they were invested.
They're smart.
Right. And kids are different. But I noticed that my mindset like shifts to theirs, because I have a growth mindset, like they have the same. So to know that I'm playing a role in shaping the world's future leaders is huge to me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That truly is. I think teaching is such an important role, because everyone needs a teacher. It doesn't matter what space of your life that you go into, and teaching is such a universal skill to have. Like you said, you're pivoting your business, and as long as you're able to teach and communicate to someone, you'll always be able to enhance someone's life for the better.
Right.
I had a question. I noticed you're very spiritual. And the work that you do, some people may argue that like the beauty industry can be built on some people's insecurity. How do you kind of stay grounded in the work that you do and stay grounded in your faith, as you work in the body sculpting business? Because I love that you have God with you all the time. I love it. And I think people think that sometimes the two can't necessarily like coexist.
Well, and see, that's the thing, because I'm thanks for asking that. When you are really doing the work and passionate about what you do, I think that even any job you work, like it could be a ministry, like a barber can be can be ministering, like the job you do, like you do community service work, it's still a ministry, because every time you have the opportunity to impact the life, I think that you should take it. So because I don't think it's definitely not coincidental that I started a body sculpting business to allow women to recognize that like beauty is internal, like it's not external. And even if you fix what's on the outside, like you really got to work on what's on the inside. So I think that working in the space allows me to, I bring God in with me. So when they come in, even if they might not know it, they might be non-believers, and some people call it your vibe, your energy, your this, your that. I just simply call it my spirit, because God gave me this. So they get to experience that. And sometimes it leaves people like, well, I don't know what it is, but there's something about her. It's God.
If you were confused, it's God.
Right. So I'm talking to them and I'm saying stuff just like what I'm saying now. Like I can, by hearing their conversations, sometimes girls don't really say, hey, like I'm insecure, but I just listen to the things that they say about themselves, and I can pinpoint it like, yeah, she might be. So let me compliment her. Like I am a strong believer in making women feel like they are beautiful. So I tell them that, like, while they are naked, while I'm doing the services, like, girl, you don't look bad at all. This is a quick fix. This is something that you can work on. But also, while you're working on that, like, make sure you're doing the inner work. Like, make sure you're telling yourself that you look good. Make sure you feel good. Make sure you're feeding your body the right things, because that's important too.
I like that. It's like you're coming for the service, but you're leaving with something deeper.
Right. And which is what makes people come back. So I don't think that people realize that you don't even, if you are being yourself and you're really operating in your purpose, like people will come back, and they're going to come back for you, not even just the services.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think we see so many times now that a lot of people don't do the inner work, and they go and they think if I change externally that all my insecurities will go away. I won't feel this way anymore. But then there's the thing of body dysmorphia, or like
right.
what you see isn't really there anymore, but you feel it. Like you still haven't accepted or moved past or healed in that space of your life. So I like that you say that. And it's like, it's a deeper purpose to you. Then it's not just about the dollar and how much you can make off the customer. It's about like, I want women to feel beautiful in their skin.
Right. And every time I encounter different people, like I think like, what can I add to this conversation? How can I add value to this person's life? Because that's more valuable than the money. Like I do that, but I do the business, but I don't do it for the money, because like I said, I'm not even just that passionate about that part. I'm more passionate about the people. And my clients always ask me like, what do you like most about it? And I say, interacting with people, getting to know different women, like it's a beautiful experience. And they're always shocked. And I'm like, yeah, because I understand that as long as I'm doing the work, like my work will speak for me, and God will always make room for me.
Yeah.
That's what you say that all the time, that it's about what value do you provide to the space.
People do not want to deal with people in life that don't provide value to them. So
right.
I love that you are in this space. You're in multiple spaces because you're passionate about teaching. That was another question I had. It kind of came and went, but you, like a lot of entrepreneurs, we get in this mindset of, I want to do this full time. Like I want to be my business full time. And I think you definitely want to grow your business, and you want to pivot in the way that's most applicable to your journey, but you're also not interested in quitting teaching in any time soon. And I love that.
No. And I want to speak on that, because social media kind of pushes people into this mindset. Like I'm noticing, it's almost like, I'm just like, is this a war on teachers? Because everything I see is like, why teachers are quitting. Teachers should quit, blah, blah, blah. Which granted, I do think we should get paid more. Okay. But I'm not going to hate teachers just because the teacher down the street said she hate teaching. Like I'm really happy in this. So I think that we have to push people into purpose. Like if you're passionate, maybe you just should choose another school versus leaving the profession as a whole, because we also have to understand that if all of the teachers quit, then what are we gonna do? Like
the kid people still gonna have the kids, the kids still
right,
gotta come to school, mom still gotta go to work, dad still gotta go to work.
so it's like I want to be that teacher that says, hey, like this isn't that bad. Like if you wake up and you are passionate about this and you do what you are supposed to do, it is very enjoyable. You know, the school may not be, again, you can change, but it is great work. And eventually, like I want to go into a role where I can encourage teachers, advocate for both teachers and students and parents and be in the space. But in order for me to do that, then I have to experience all of it. So I don't ever plan on leaving education, actually.
Beautiful.
I love that.
Beautiful.
I think, and he's a big fan of education, of non-traditional education, working with students outside of the classroom and
right.
activities. So I think teaching in general, like I said, we all have teachers, we all have mentors. A mentor is another word for a teacher. We all have people in our lives who instill knowledge and wisdom into us, who hold us accountable.
Right. And that's necessary.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have any particular mentors that you have that hold you to like your best of standard, or how do you keep yourself motivated so that, you know, at the end of the day, you're providing the best that Alexia has to provide?
So I would say I definitely have people around me who I know that I can call for different things. That's the biggest thing, you know, like my aunt is someone that I can ask about what I should do financially. She has coached me since I was little. But her greatest advice is save. But we know that we can't really save our way into wealth. So that's one person. A few years ago, I was tutoring a multimillionaire son who changed my life and changed my perspective on just kind of money, the world, and things. And that's what kind of made me see, you know, just see life differently and understand that like wealth is obtainable for me, for sure. But money itself isn't everything, and that's what I learned from a super rich person. So I have those people, and then I have people who I can call if I need spiritual guidance. But I also have to say that every day I'm looking to learn something new. I think that any day that you don't learn is almost time wasted, because when I in the morning, I'm doing something like it's like I want to know something else because I want to add value to every space. So whether I'm growing spiritually, I am growing. So I'm a teacher, but first I'm a learner. Like I learn from my students. I don't just walk. You know how some teachers are like, this is my classroom, and what I say goes. This more like, guys, this is our space. Like, how can we make this better? You have any ideas? I'm that type of person, but I'm an avid learner. I want to know I want to know when I die. I want to know, say that I've given this life everything I had. And in order to be able to do that, then that means I have to have had a growth mindset in every space in my life and just learn as much as I can, like from greats, like on Instagram, YouTube. I read a lot of books too. I'm big on like personal development. So I'm just looking for new ways to learn.
I like that you said that about you said multiple things, but we can't save our way into wealth. I have a personal development and financial development business. And one of those things I think, which was hard for me to grasp when I started fixing my finances and just recrafting how I looked at money in general, was like, all you hear is save, 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 save. But it's like, you know, yes, saving is important, but there's a way to do it. There's a way you have to maneuver the system, in a quote unquote, to be able to move into the different areas that you want to do. Yeah. And I love that you said from you tutoring the wealthy child. I was nannying for a while, and I nannied for a lot of wealthy families. And truly that experience of being in those rooms and having those conversations, like one of my families I nannied with, the father was a CEO of a very big company worldwide. And he started off when he was 25, leaving college, he had $20 in his pocket.
Wow.
In I think like 2000 and something. Like, and to see like we're only in 2022.
Right.
You're a multi-millionaire going on billionaire. And it was kind of like, it was super attainable. And the way he was talking about how he started his journey and what he did. And it was really just like, I had $20, I had friends, and we all were able to do this business. And we said, we're going to move and figure it out. And they moved and they figured it out.
That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And that goes into what you were saying about adding value to conversations too. So it's like some people get so intimidated, when they're working with wealthy people because you put them on a pedestal. I'm not big on titles. I'm big on people. Like, I think I'll treat the janitor and the CEO with level of respect. So, but I found that, wow, like if I'm in the presence of somebody who has a lot of money and I'm adding value to this person's life, and I'm adding value, he's adding value, now we're really good friends, then I should see life that way. Like, you never know who you'll meet. And that's why I think that it's so important to be intentional about learning as much as you can learn, because you want to, when you go in certain spaces, you want to add something to it, because if you can add something, then they're going to add something back to you. Like, people don't want to just, it's like, a lot of Instagrammers are talking about how everybody wants to pick your brain. If you have that approach, you want to pick people's brain, but you don't have anything to add.
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. Everyone talks about, I want to pick your brain.
Right. So I knew a lot about education. I helped his son so much. And like I said, we're still so close. Like, I actually helped his son get diagnosed. He's a teen and he was diagnosed with autism at 14. But so this is something, it's not like they lacked the resources. They just didn't have anybody around that could kind of coach them and tell them like what to do. So I was valuable. They were super valuable to me, and now we're friends, and it's helpful on both ends, because sometimes, they call me and they still ask questions too.
So let me ask you, because I know this, when I was just getting started in like my whole personal development journey, that was something that I really, really had an issue. Like, that was a question I really had an issue answering. So from the experiences that you've had, how do you look at how do you pinpoint ways to add value to different people's lives? Because somebody might hear what you're saying and they understand it, but they're like, oh, everyone has different needs. I don't really know. Like, I know what I know. I know my experiences. So how have you done that in your time?
So I listen to people, because if you allow people to speak, they're going to eventually tell you exactly what they need.
Everything they need.
Right? So it's just like, if a man says like, yeah, I don't really cry that much, I don't really show emotions, then you already know what he needs. He just needs you to create a space that allows him to be vulnerable. So I'm going to focus on creating that space that allows him to be vulnerable. And over time, he's going to find himself expressing himself more, not even knowing it, and showing emotion, because you created that space. So even with women, like I said, nobody says I lack confidence. Like, I hate my body. They're not necessarily going to say that, but they're going to say things that let you know what they need.
That's completely
so. For wealthy people a lot of times lack spirituality. Like, they chase the money and they forget that, if you don't pour into something that's a little bit more important, then you find them committing suicide, because they have the money, but that's all they have. They have the money and they're surrounded by people pleasers. They have the money and they're surrounded by people that want to leech off of them. And then before you know it, it's like, I have a lot of money, but I'm surrounded by a lot of people, but I still feel alone, because you didn't really develop a deep connection really with anybody. And these people are around you for what you have versus who you are. So that is another way. Like, I study the things that people say to me. I listen. And then I can tell you what every one of my friends need right now in their lives. And I try as much as I can to, when I learn stuff about something that they might need, whether that's personal finance or them just like battles, a lot of times it's just really people just need to be able to be more confident. So like, I'm speaking life into them every time I talk to them, because I want them to believe in themselves. So that's kind of how I go about it. Just listen to what they say, and then you'll find the weakness, because we all have weakness.
I do the same with my friends and my family, and I love when people do feel like they have that safe space in me to come and like,
right.
Hey, I just we're talking, and then they start talking about something serious, and I'm listening. I'm like, well, girl, this came out of nowhere, but I'm here now. I'm listening. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I had an experience like that with my homie yesterday. Now that you mention it, we were just talking, and like, all of a sudden he just started saying what was going on. And I know one of my big things is I always want to give people that space. And, a lot of men don't get that space to just really say what's going on and how they're feeling, and just talking and just like listening. And he was like, I mean to make the mood all sad and shit. I'm like, no, bro, like that, if that's your truth, like, that's what you're going through, and I appreciate that. And I know, I love that you said that, because I know I love when people have done that for me. And I know people appreciate when you do that for them. So I really love that point.
Yeah, we had an episode, we talked about like just allowing people to have a space to just talk and to just feel how they need to feel.
Yeah.
And then even if that mean like, because sometimes realistically we're people, we sometimes don't even have the solution or the answer to those problems. It's just like, you just needed someone to talk to right now, right, who can listen, and who can listen unbiasedly to what you have to say. And that's all I can provide to you in a hug.
Yeah. Right. And then, so they say these things, and you might not have the solution at that point, right? But days could pass, and then you could stumble upon a solution. I know my friend was telling me like what her end goal was, and I didn't know much about it, right? But I stumbled upon an Instagram page, and I was just like, oh, this girl is in the field that she wants to be in. She seems to be like talking a lot about it. I sent it to her and was like, hey, I remember when you said this is what you wanted to do. I think this is a cool page to follow. And that meant a lot to her, because that let her know, hey, one, I'm listening, two, you are invested. So I think that I try to do that a lot. And if as people, if we all like did that, I think we wouldn't feel so alone, and we'd feel the support, because sometimes support doesn't just look like buying me stuff, or, a lot of people want gifts and not time, but it's like we need to foster relationships and healthy relationships, and I think we all feel better and not so stressed.
So you have another question? I have one more question before we wrap up today. I just want to say, first off, before I ask my last question, I just want to say that I appreciate you so much. I know our audience is going to grab so much game and learn so much from you. My last question is, I know you do a lot of emotional work, emotional labor, between teaching, between body sculpting, and just the type of person you are, just giving life into other people. How do you take care of yourself, and how do you like know when Alexia needs her time to recharge?
So I cry, but I allow myself to feel. Like, I don't hide my emotions. I don't hide anything. Like, I'll tell people how I feel in any conversation, but when I feel like I'm heavy, then I isolate a little, and then I come back, because I've always said you can't pour from an empty cup. So what that looks like for me is, if I'm having a bad day, I'm emotional, I'm overwhelmed, I'm probably going to go, when I get home, I'm probably going to get into bed, and I'm going to relax, and I'm going to listen to some gospel music to soothe me. I'm going to think about what it is that has me stressed, and then I'm going to problem solve. Because one thing I do recognize too, like, but it's like, carry the burden, definitely feel how you feel, but don't feel it too long, because sometimes that turns into depression and you start feeling sorry for yourself. I don't allow myself to feel that way. Like, I might be sad for a day, but I'm not going to be sad for a whole month, because we got to figure this thing out. So I feel, and then I problem solve. I take baths, I relax, I talk to my boyfriend about it. And basically his answer is stop crying and stop being dramatic. No, and he helps me figure out problems, like the solution too. So I'm always asking, like, how do you think I could fix this? Like, did you think I did this wrong or that wrong? Like, am I over exaggerating? So I ask these questions, and then I take his opinion, I take whoever else's opinion that I may ask, and then I come up with the solution. And then the next day I'm going to execute, because I do not believe in just, feeling sorry for myself and being down for too long.
Yeah. They say behind every great woman is a great man. And
and likewise.
Hello, somebody.
On every episode, we like to end them with something we call a bag drop, similar to a mic drop. But if there's someone listening to this and they didn't grasp anything from this episode,
just wasn't listening. You couldn't have been listening and not get something.
But they still didn't figure it out, and they're kind of like, maybe I just don't know how I can get right with it. What would you give them as your last message on this podcast?
I would say, ask yourself this: if you were to die today, would you be happy with the work that you have done? Have you lived a life in such a way that people would call you somewhat legendary, that people would remember you forever for the work that you have done? And if your answer to that question is not yes, then go. There you go. Start the work, do the work. What makes you special? What can you specialize in? How can you live a life in such a way that will make you legendary?
That's beautiful.
That's a bag. That ain't even a bar. That's a bag.
So thank
you
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We really appreciated it. Where can our viewers find you at? And please drop we'll also have this information linked in the show notes for both your businesses and you personally.
So my business is LexLuxe Body Sculpt. So that is LexBodysculpt. That is my Instagram business, the website as well, www.LexLuxeBodysculpt.com. And my personal Instagram is just my name, Alexia Gosier _. So ALEXIAGOSIER_. And then I have Pretty Pedagogue, which is my teacher Instagram, but my personal Instagram normally keeps all of the content. So definitely go take a follow.
Oh, thank you. And Ian, where can they find you at?
You beat me to it. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at IanB, 2 underscores at the end. On TikTok, it's Ian.B3. Jasia, where can they find you at?
And you guys can find me on Instagram at Jasia Robinson.
And please don't forget to follow Beat the Maze on Twitter, Instagram. Well, not Twitter, but Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere you are, that's where we are. We love having guests like you, Alexia. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. That's a wrap, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.